And welcome everybody to episode 32 of Comic Confidential, the weekly podcast where we bring you the week's comic-related news, views, and reviews. I'm your host, Kade, and with me as always, the Robin to my Batman.
Oh,
yeah, I got that.
That's different.
Yeah, it's Troy.
Yeah, that's me.
How you doing?
Yeah, what's going on?
Holy.
Yeah.
Man, we're only... You don't even know what I'm excited about.
I don't.
I'm excited because all our TV shows are like just around the corner.
Oh, man. They are literally weeks away.
Weeks
away. So, yeah, if we weren't busy before, we are going to be very, very busy bees very shortly.
Very soon. And that means we are going to be doing no more mediocre episodes.
When have we ever?
I think we're always pretty mediocre.
Yeah, okay. So we're going from mediocre from like a couple of weeks' time
To lukewarm.
To lukewarm.
Yeah.
To almost passably good.
Almost.
Yeah. But we do. We have Gotham coming back. I think it's either next week or the week after. We've got Luke Cage at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Which is going to be cool as shit. Then it's like straight back into, I think it's you got
Flash.
Arrow, Flash,
Yep.
Supergirl, Legends, and then the big one, The Walking Dead,
The
towards
Walking
the end of the
Dead.
month.
Holy shit, man. It's going to be so good.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Except,
You're not going to be here for like 18 weeks of that.
yeah, I won't be here for any of it. Any of the returns anyway. I'll be back by episode 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Roughly.
What are you going to do about Luke Cage? Are you just going to avoid Twitter?
No, I'm going to because Luke Cage drops about the 28th for us, and I take my trip to Europe on the 1st. So I've got 2 days to binge watch all of Luke Cage, which I'm pretty sure I can do quite comfortably.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get that out of the road. The biggest thing for me is how I'm going to avoid spoilers for The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So
I'm probably going to send you a video message of like the first 10 seconds.
yeah, because I'll be knee deep in that beautiful London soil, if that's a
Smog.
thing, by that stage. So myself and my girlfriend are definitely going to try to find a place where we can watch it.
Oh, how romantic.
So if anyone is in London and can put me up for the night with a TV to help me watch The Walking Dead so I don't miss it, and so Twitter and the internet in general doesn't spoil it for me,
Yeah.
it'll let me know.
Or someone like maybe put it on a USB stick for you.
Yeah, do something.
Yeah.
Just help a brother out because somebody's going to ruin that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be me.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah.
Look, let's talk some news.
You want to?
Shall we? Yeah. I
Okay.
think we just get right into it today. Let me just say there are going to be a couple of little subtle changes to the show this week.
What?
Yeah, we got a couple.
Oh.
Let's see if people can pick them up.
Okay.
All right. Let us know. News, though. You kick us off.
I can?
Yeah.
Well, Jeff Johns has confirmed that Joe Manganiello
Yep. Melanangio.
is definitely Deathstroke.
Yeah, that's cool. Manganiello is his name.
Sounds like a pasta.
Yeah, it is, I think. But yeah, he is confirmed.
Yeah, that
And
is...
I think we broke that story, didn't we?
You heard it first here last week.
Yeah, last week or the week before or something like that.
At least a decade ago.
But officially confirmed. What do you think, man? What are your thoughts?
I think it's great. I thought last week, he was going to do a great job of this, except I can't move past that he was Flash from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I can't make the connection. I look at him and he looks like he's about 20 years younger. And I know the movie's 13 years, but
Yeah, something
man,
like that, yeah.
He must have went through this real hard period.
Yeah. I think he just hit the weights big time.
Yeah.
Lost a little bit of that, that mid-20s fat. Is that a thing?
That college fat.
Yeah, that college fat.
Yeah.
And basically, got godlike in his physique and, got himself on True Blood, wasn't it?
Was it True Blood?
Yeah, I think it was True Blood. And then Magic Mike and all that sort of stuff. And, now he's just a sex god.
Yeah. It's on
But
Men's
he's-
Health everywhere.
Yeah, he is. But he's Deathstroke. Deathstroke is our sex god.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I think physically, he's got the look. I think he's got the build, all that sort of stuff. I guarantee the guy's an action star in the making. I think he'll be able to pull it off pretty well.
Yeah, I do too.
Hey, you got some movie news?
Do you?
Yes.
Tell me it.
I do.
Put it in my ear holes right now.
Okay. Greg Berlanti, Booster Gold. So we spoke about this last week where there was talk that it was going to be potentially a TV
HBO
series. Yeah, on HBO. I think they've reconfirmed the fact that it's going to be a movie now, but it's going to have no connection to the DC currently. Yeah.
Yes, I did hear that. You know what?
What?
That makes me wonder if it's going to be connected to maybe the CW universe.
Nah.
Nah, man, it's gonna.
No, I doubt it.
Be good if it did, though.
But yeah, I think, well, if that's the case, then you would make it a TV show. I don't think you would spend as much money, like, upwards of $150 million, we'll say, probably, because of how this will be set.
Yeah.
You wouldn't spend that sort of money to tie in with the CW TV shows, really, would you?
But would you really spend that much money to do an obscure character that not many people would know to not connect it to anything?
Yeah, but is it not connected because it's like, is he okay? So here's the question that I have, I guess. So is it not connected because it's set in the future? Obviously, because Booster Gold can time travel. So is that why they're kind of trying to say no connection to the current universe, but there is the potential that it could?
Oh, maybe.
Eventually.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? I might be grasping at straws, but that's a possibility.
Hey, I'm going to believe nothing until I see pre-production happening.
Well, that's true too.
So,
yeah, because there is still no real word on anything beyond that, I don't think.
No, that's pretty much it. And it changes nearly every week that you hear about Booster Gold. So,
yeah.
How about this? We're putting a stamp on it. No more Booster Gold news until we hear something official.
We've only done 2 stories.
It's too much. too much Booster Gold.
Too many. Yeah, okay. Well, considering we haven't seen him on screen at all, other than I think in Smallville,
glorious,
which was terrible. Yeah, I think the guy deserves a little bit more recognition.
Yeah,
but that's cool. We can can it. But speaking of Greg Berlanti, though, he has a Black Lightning TV series that has gotten a green light and is ready to go.
It's a pilot only, though, isn't it?
Pilot only. So not a full series, I guess. But yeah, pilot. What do you think?
Man, it gets to me deep because you can never judge a show on its pilot.
Well, that's true.
Because everything changes so much. I mean, you look at the first episode of The Flash that came out, man, they had like pop-up graphics when Barry was like doing measurements of tires and shit like that. The show did a complete 180 on that.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. So it depends on how it gets tested, I suppose, and which market it gets tested to. The character itself is pretty interesting. Got some pretty interesting powers in the sense that, well, it depends on which way they go.
Yeah.
Because I think they've had 2 versions, or they've had a couple of versions, and one I think relied predominantly on like a belt or something to help generate the electricity.
Right.
That he creates, and the other one is obviously a metahuman who has the innate ability to create said electrical fields / force fields and whatnot as well.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
And not overly, like, not superhuman level. Does that make sense? Not like top level.
He's like almost street level.
Probably closer to a street level.
Yeah, right.
Although I think, if I remember correctly, he has previously he's been able to generate enough power to kickstart Superman's heart after he nearly died from an overdose of kryptonite.
Yeah, man, that shit's bad, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Don't get addicted to kryptonite.
Stay off drugs. Take drugs, not hugs.
Stay off the green tea.
Take hugs, not drugs.
Oh.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Hugs, not drugs.
Yeah, drugs, not hugs.
Hey, staying with Greg Berlanti, because we actually got a little bit of news about him.
Yeah.
He said that the TV Suicide Squad was kind of like a dry run for the movies. What do you think?
No.
I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, I call bullshit on this one. I think it's probably... Man, really? Like,
can I insert the "why you always lying" meme here?
Yeah, can you? Because when you look at the characters that they bought, like, if that's how you're going to test the Suicide Squad for an upcoming movie, because Greg Berlanti said they came to him about 1.5 years ago and they said, hey, can you run with a cast of like Suicide Squad, and we're going to test it and we're going to see, because we've got a movie in the works and we want to see how it tests and if people like it or anything like that. So they do a very watered down version of Deadshot. Their Amanda Waller on Arrow was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, they brought in Bronze Tiger and a couple of like other classic sort of characters.
Yeah.
I just don't see the connection, man.
No,
because
not at all. They couldn't even run Harley.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think what they only, if I remember correctly, they were only in a couple of episodes.
I think they did like 2 or 3.
Yeah, like a Suicide Squad special or something like that. Deadshot, obviously, a couple times more before he died. Amanda Waller, obviously, heaps more before she died.
Yep.
And the whole reason they killed them off is because Warner Brothers then turned around and said, you guys have got to get rid of these characters because we're going to use them. So licensing rights and all that sort of stuff. I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to do it, test with better characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not so much better characters, but make it look better because I didn't care.
Yeah, either did I. It's like they're Deadshot. I was like, meh.
Were you honestly were you sitting on the couch going, you know what? Fuck, I hope they make a Suicide Squad movie.
I want these characters on the big screen.
Michael J. White as Bronze Tiger has really fucking sold me.
Yeah.
No.
What?
Hey, there is some big news that has come out this week, and that is the fact that Alan Moore, only recently, has pretty much decided or confirmed that he's going to retire from comic writing.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's big news because Alan Moore is like one of the biggest names in comics.
He's an OG.
He is an OG. And he's done some incredible work. Obviously, The Killing Joke, which we talk about every other week on this show.
Every day.
Watchmen, V for Vendetta, heaps and heaps and heaps of stuff. And he's basically calling it a day. Just kind of, he's saying, I think he said something along the lines of he's got about 250 pages of comics left in him. And after that, he might do the occasional one here and there, but he's pretty much done.
So he's got like a little clicker going on.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, that's one page. Yeah. The biggest thing that I take away from this is the fact, like, he's obviously got beef with DC, and he's had beef with DC for a long time. That's no secret. But he has also turned around and said that he wants his name removed from everything that he doesn't own. And a couple of things that DC owns that he doesn't actually own the rights to are, Watchmen and V for Vendetta as an example. So he would effectively want his name completely removed from that.
Man, that's hate, eh?
That is hate. And it sucks to see, such a big name.
Just want to throw it all away.
Well, he's not throwing it away.
Well, I'm not throwing it away, but not have anything to do with it anymore.
Like there would have to be some deep-seated hatred to kind of go, you know what, Watchmen, which is a fucking awesome graphic novel.
Yep.
How about I just take my name off that work completely because I don't own the rights to it. And fucking Alan Moore is Watchmen. That's his work through and through. If you haven't read it, by the way, folks, go out and read it.
One of the best-selling graphic novels worldwide. You know that?
Yeah.
Little fun fact.
A little fun fact. We're all about trivia and shit.
And mostly shit.
Yeah, mostly shit. Hey.
Yes?
You've got a news story.
Oh, boy, do I. Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Man, she's gorgeous.
She is okay.
Man, what's wrong with you? Anyway, she wants to take up the Catwoman role again.
Yeah.
In the DCU. DCEU.
Yeah.
Whatever you call it.
The DCEU. Which for the longest time I thought was entertainment, but it's extended. So
it should be entertainment.
Yeah, shouldn't it? So she's basically said, what's his name? Christopher Nolan's trilogy is obviously wrapped up and it's complete, and we're not ever going back to that, and that's fine. And her character is obviously a part of that, but she really loves the DC universe and would love to come back. And if there's any way that they could make it happen, she'd be 100% completely on board.
She is dreaming.
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
I do not see the Catwoman character working in this new universe.
Yeah, not her version.
Not her version.
For sure.
Almost no version. Depends how they grow this universe. At the moment, it seems like it's all very overpowered people.
Yeah.
And even Batman.
Well, except for the Suicide Squad.
Well, except for the Suicide Squad. But even then, there's some, extreme level matters in that.
Yeah.
Her.
But what about going back to, I think Margot Robbie was talking about doing a Birds of Prey movie.
Okay, that I could get down with.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of, again, those street level characters, and she's a part of that. So they could very well bring her in for that.
Yeah, that might work.
Don't think it would be Anne Hathaway, though.
No, I don't think she's a very good fit for this.
Not to take anything away from her particular character in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Because that was a pretty good movie. Not exactly what you would call comic book accurate. It's not really the word I want to use.
Well, but none of these movies are really like from the pages. Yeah. They all take inspiration. Because honestly, 9 times out of 10, if you made a comic book movie direct from the pages, it'd be shit.
Well, okay, but just saying, Batman vs Superman did that in like scenes,
scenes
over the place.
In scenes, it's fine. Yeah. But as a whole, it's
it's
kind of like it'll be a mess.
Yeah.
there'll be no context because it's like, oh, I didn't read the previous issues.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like where you're just falling into this mental story.
Yeah. Anne Hathaway, sorry, champ, don't think it's going to happen. Maybe stay tuned for Les Mis 2, if that's a thing.
What Les Mis 2?
Yeah. More Miz.
More Miz?
Les Mis 2, more Miz, more... I
don't even know what you're talking about. Mate, did you see the Legion trailer?
I think I did.
Yeah?
It's very confusing.
It is the most confusing trailer for a TV show I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Which could be really good.
It could be
There's
really
a
good.
question mark at the end of that. Yeah.
The only thing with the TV show like that is I feel if you miss one episode, you're done.
Yeah, you're done.
You couldn't keep watching it.
Yeah, I've spoken about it before. I think I spoke about it when we heard the news of this season, the series dropping and all that sort of stuff. Noah Hawley, who is the creator of Fargo, it's in really good hands. Fargo is brilliant, as I've spoken about. 2 seasons of that, and it's fucking unreal. It's in good hands, but I just don't know how it's going to come across. They have said that there are connections to like the Marvel universe, as it were, but they're not really going to reference it. I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be like a really sort of standalone thing. It'll be this thing where, you know, you can watch it even if you don't know who it is, because it's like if you don't know who Legion is, because it'll just be such a standalone thing.
Yeah, exactly.
If that makes sense. You'll be able to pick it up.
Yeah. Kind of like how Jessica Jones was. It was so out of left field, didn't really connect to anything.
Yeah, and
people
not
still can still enjoy it.
Exactly, yeah. And not a lot of people knew who Jessica Jones was.
Yeah.
So I think, very good point. I think it'll be similar to that.
Do you think it'll last more than a season?
I think so. I think if they do it right. I think I don't know.
Because
Noah Hawley is the one thing on this that is making me think that it will be a success.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Because if you haven't seen the trailer, jump on YouTube. It's pretty hard to find.
It is very hard to find.
But if you
outside of America.
Outside of America, yeah. But if you find it, give it a watch, because this guy's got 11 personalities?
Is it? Is there an actual number? I don't know.
I don't know. I think it is 11. 11 or 13. Someone let me know. I'm probably lying.
Yeah.
But each one of these personalities has a different power set.
Yeah.
So, and he's Omega level.
Yeah. So that's cool as shit.
That is cool as shit.
So I don't know. Let's see. There we go. We'll leave it at that. Let's see, Legion. See what you got. And that's going to bring us to the weekly wrap, the segment where we wrap up all the week's TV action, or at least this one show, until the others come back.
Fear the Walking Dead.
Indeed.
With Do Not Disturb.
Yes.
Laugh at me this week, dickhead. I can say that one.
Yes, your English is fine.
It's on point.
I've never questioned your English. Your Spanish, on the other hand, terrible.
See.
Yes, excellent. So this week, Travis and Chris had their own storyline, and I think Alicia and Helena,
a new character,
had their own storyline. So they are kind of doing it the way we thought they were going to do it, but they're just breaking it up into 2 lots of people rather than 1.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I think it's a little bit easier on the story writers.
Yeah, probably.
Honestly, I really do.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, we won't write 40 minutes of rubbish. Let's write 20 minutes of mediocre.
Yeah, let's write 20 minutes of rubbish here.
Yeah.
And then we'll write 20 minutes of rubbish here. And we'll put those 2 together and we'll already have 40 minutes of rubbish.
Done.
Right? And they've probably got 2 separate groups writing it as well. That's why none of it really makes sense.
Actually, that could be 100% true.
I guarantee it is. Let's talk about Travis and Chris, shall we?
Let's do it.
And what these crazy kids got up to this week. Which basically turns out to be not really much.
No, they're like trying to figure out where to go and what to do.
Yeah, it's kind of like Travis has pretty much, he's decided that he doesn't really want Chris to be around anybody, and that's probably fair.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% understandable.
Yeah,
Your son's a bit of a dickhead, mate.
A bit of a dickhead?
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice here.
Yeah, he is a bit of a dickhead. However, so is Travis, really, isn't he? Because this is a guy that has forsaken everyone else in this world where there is all you have left are the people around you. So he has essentially forsaken all of these people for the sake of his son, but probably also for the sake of them in the sense that his son will probably kill them at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he has basically reserved himself to the fact that it's a life in the country with my son for the rest of days, or until he stops being a psycho killer.
Which will never happen.
It'll never happen. But I guess with this one, they kind of they come across a couple of new people.
Yeah, a couple of young guns, young fellas.
Young guns, a couple of young guns who, they're what are they really doing? They're kind of like
they look like they're trying to like jack a joint.
Yeah, they're basically just like robbing like a grocery store that's already got
just
nothing
trying to
in it.
scavenge.
It's like one tin of beans or something.
Massive tin of beans.
Massive
I've never
tin of
seen
beans.
a tin of beans that big, man.
Neither have I. Definitely a lot bigger than the baked beans that we have here.
Yeah, like our little 125 gram tins.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not about the beans.
It's all about the beans.
Because so these two stories converge when Chris essentially saves one of the guys from being, eaten by a walker, or what did they call them? Something like a stumbler or something. I don't know. Or
no, the wasted.
The wasted. Yeah, that's right.
Because they thought they were drunk.
Exactly. That's right.
Until they ate one of their friends. It's like, fucking.
And then they're still like, nah, okay, he's a zombie.
Yeah.
So they meet these dudes and they end up, going on the road with them. Travis is still very skeptical about anybody that they're meeting.
And that's completely understandable. I mean, these guys look like they're trouble.
Yeah.
Travis he's actually got his head screwed on. His little fucking dickhead son's like, let's hang out with them. They're my age. I haven't got any friends.
Yeah.
Mate, it's the fucking apocalypse. You don't need friends. You need to survive.
Yeah, in all fairness, though, I mean, I think Travis is probably trying a little bit too hard to keep himself and his son segregated from the rest of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably being a little bit too untrusting, even though, these guys did rock up and they had guns and, all that sort of stuff. But I think where it all culminates for their story, because again, like we said, not a lot really happens. But where it all culminates for their story is they hit the road and they're all being bros. Everyone's like, yeah, and they find this farmhouse or something like that. And then they decide to, we need food, we need supplies, all that sort of stuff. Let's go there. Travis is like, hey, you know what, Chris? This is an awesome place for you and me to live for the rest of our lives.
How depressing is that,
Yeah.
kind? You just sit there and think, yeah, I'm living with my dad.
Yeah, could you
forever.
imagine being a 16-year-old kid and your dad's like, oh, hey, it's end of days. How about you and me just, we'll chill out on this farm for the rest of existence. Yeah, fuck you, Dad.
Yeah, Dad, I'm fucking
Dad,
16.
You're embarrassing me in front of my friends. So anyway, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, all hell does break loose because Travis finds that there's 3 graves on this farm. There's still one person going around. I don't know how they actually figured that out. Did I miss something there?
Well, I think it was a mother, a daughter, and a son, or a mother, daughter, dog sort of
Yeah,
situation.
something like
it was
that.
some sort of it was a family thing that didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
So, you would
That's
assume...
not very PC.
It's not very PC, but you would assume, though, then that there would have to be someone left who actually buried them. So I think he has assumed that there is still someone around.
And sure enough, there is.
There is.
We see all the boys going into what looks like it might be a barn.
Yeah.
And they're chasing chickens.
Yeah, trying to catch some food.
Yeah.
I guess, like Rocky style.
Yeah, Rocky style indeed. Except, do they not know how a chicken works?
How does a chicken work?
Why kill the one thing that can produce almost endless amounts of food?
Oh, well, yeah, but I think there's multiple chickens.
Doesn't matter, man.
So you could
Don't count your chickens.
No, but you could probably sacrifice a chicken to get some meat, and then have other chickens to get your eggs, which is what I assume you're talking
Yes.
about. Yeah. Anyway, so old mate who owns the property obviously rocks up and he's got a shotgun, and everyone's kind of like freaking out and they don't know what's happening, and then all of a sudden Chris proves that he is the most psycho of them all and just shoots the guy dead.
Yep.
Man, like, fuck.
You saw Travis, man. He's just like, fuck's sake.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm trying so fucking hard here, Chris.
Yeah. Come on, mate. Give me a break. I'm a single dad. The world's ended. And you're just causing me trouble, mate.
Yeah. But I think what it shows that he was probably right. Because one thing that we didn't touch on, and one thing we probably should have mentioned is when they first met these guys, and they were all like they were sitting around a campfire or something, and they were all telling stories about where they're from and what they've done and all that sort of stuff. And the conversation started to get into how many they've like walkers or
yes, how many have you killed?
Of the wasted have you killed? And Chris was like 17.
Yeah.
And everyone was just like, holy shit, man, you're a badass. But yeah, this is kind of the point where, like, when he kills this innocent farmer who's essentially just trying to protect his property, it's kind of like, you are officially the most psycho of the bunch, you fuckface.
You are the dickhead of the week.
Yes. Travis, however, is, you know where this is going to go.
Yeah, this guy is just trouble, man.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change anything, though. I think Travis is still just going to go, oh, that's my boy, and like try to protect him and keep going. Yeah, and just keep doing the same thing. So I don't really see this story going much further.
I actually see Chris killing Travis.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could see Travis.
Well, actually,
or the other way around.
I would say the other way around. I think Cliff, can't remember his last name. The actual actor who plays Travis, is probably too big of a draw card, as it were, to kill off so early. It'd be a big shock value.
It would,
but I don't think they'd do it. I think you'll find that it'll come to a point,
an ultimatum where he has to maybe they'll catch up with the others, and he's going to kill his wife, and if he doesn't,
or just a random innocent. It's like save the innocent, or save your son. Yeah, and he'll choose the innocent because he realized that his son is too far gone and also a dickhead.
Yes. Let's
talk about the other group.
Yes, let's talk about Alicia and Helena. Helena. But anyway, Helena is actually what? Helena is actually from the cold open that we saw with the wedding.
Yeah, from last week.
Yes. That's good. I was actually hoping they did the payoff for that wedding because I thought that would have been really, really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't.
You didn't?
No. I thought that was it. It's like, oh, okay, obviously someone's had a wedding here and that's it, blah, 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 off we go. And we continue. What I wanted to get a payoff from, and it may happen, and we'll get to this point eventually. What I wanted to get a payoff for was the Strand and Madison end of the story from last episode.
Oh.
But we'll get to that.
Let's just bloody talk about that now.
Okay.
How'd you get out? Quick, we're here. That's it. That's fucking bullshit.
You were surrounded by 1,700 walkers, and you just pop up at the end of the show, like hidden in a bathroom somewhere,
with a secret fucking door or something.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that happened, but we're fine. Let me tell you, if that does not come back and we don't see how they actually got out of that situation,
I'm going to be pissed.
I will flip, man. I will lose my mind. And they'll either do that, they'll either just not reference it at all, and we'll just continue on with that story, or the whole 20 minutes of next week will be how they escaped and ended up where they are. Which would be fucking pointless
because we know they get out.
Seen they're alive.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're just going to forget about it.
Yeah, I think they, from what I've seen from this show so far, I think the whole Madison Strand escape fest is gone.
Yeah.
I think it's just done. But let's get back to what we're talking about. So we've met Helena, and she has
I know, it's Helena.
Oh, sorry, Helena. Yeah, my mistake. So we've met Helena, and she has a brother Hector, and they are actually in charge of the hotel, while this wedding is happening and all that sort of stuff. A little bit of an outbreak. And that she's just like, fuck you guys. I'm closing this off and locking the door, and you guys are being left to your own devices.
That's savage, man.
That is savage. How you got a job in the hospitality industry in the first place, I have no fucking idea.
Man, I'm going to check their TripAdvisor rating. Because I'm sure it's terrible.
I'm sure it's terrible, man. 1 star, went to this hotel for a beautiful wedding, got locked in a room with a bunch of zombies. Also, didn't get a mint on my pillow.
Yeah, terrible service. Will not return.
So anyway, how this all culminates together, and we're probably just rambling on about crap, but how this all culminates together is Alicia is still stuck in her room, and she knows that she needs to get to where her mum is, and Helena is now at some point still within the hotel. They meet up with each other. Helena effectively saves her from some ridiculous attack from some zombies who are like at the bottom of an elevator or something like that.
I didn't know what she was thinking jumping onto that. And I'm sure those cables, man, they'll be greasy as fuck.
Yeah, look, I'm not even going to get into like the little nitty gritty of what went wrong.
Yeah.
But so she meets Helena. Helena immediately, takes her as a threat, even though she literally just helped
saved
her.
her.
Yes.
Yeah, I did not
It's
get
like,
that.
I'm going to save your life, and then I'm going to like try to kick the shit out of you
Yeah.
because I also think that you're a bad person.
Yeah, why not just fucking hit her with the axe that was in your fucking
swing
hand?
at her.
Yeah.
Turns out, as it were, that there are still some of these wedding guests that have lived.
Yes.
Through their whole ordeal, thanks to Helena and her brother Hector. And they've actually kidnapped Hector, and they're keeping him in some other part of the hotel.
Can I just like butt in?
Yeah.
Would you hold a wedding if there was an outbreak of zombies happening?
Well, at the time, because I think they referenced it. I think at the time they kind of referenced it only as there was a virus.
Oh, yes, they did.
Yeah. So people were getting sick, and that's why the mother wanted to quickly get back to America before they closed off the border and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's a matter of they just didn't know how bad it was until the dad bit the daughter's face off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typical families.
Typical wedding. So anyway, so Helena effectively has the keys to the hotel. She's in control. The wedding party wants to be in control of the hotel because according to Helena, whoever has the keys rules, runs the job. So Alicia and Helena join forces, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Because
that is about it.
Because what could have been something that built quite like it could have built well, because they both had really like good, essentially good stories going on where we knew at some point they were going to come up against, the wedding party guests who have Hector, and, at some point we're going to see Madison and Strand, and, they're all going to meet up, and is someone dead or, whatever. No.
And,
none of it happens.
There was no urgency in this episode.
Yeah.
I mean, they waited 24 hours before going downstairs.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, come on.
Exactly. And not only that, but when they actually do finally meet the wedding party, as it were, that's what we're going to call it. When they do finally meet the wedding party, it's kind of like, oh, okay, here's your brother. Oh, yeah, here's the keys.
Yeah, it's just...
And it's like, okay.
So seriously, guys, just bloody work together.
Thanks, man. Like, that was such a great story. I'm so... And that's where we get to the end. And that's where, Helena and Alicia are running. There's zombies everywhere. And they come to this room and they meet Madison and Strand. And you're just like, you know what, Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead?
Fuck you.
Fuck you. I'm sick of your shit, because that was going to be... Like, because I said it last week. I said, I bet you there is some stupid way that they get out of this situation that they're in. And the stupid way they got out of the situation is by not referencing it all.
Yeah.
And that is fucked.
It's infuriating. And I'll be really, really disappointed if they go back next week to show how they got out, because now I don't care.
It makes no sense. If they do that, it's just stupid, because, there is absolutely... There's nothing. There will be no tension. There'll be nothing.
Nothing there.
Because we know at the end, it's all fine.
Yep.
If they do it, oh, man.
Unless they do something with this wedding party. To maybe help them out, show them that they're not bad guys. Who knows? I don't even fucking care.
Yeah, I honestly don't know where they're going to go from here, because they're not going anywhere right now. One of our listeners on Twitter, Peter, actually had a pretty good observation or a thought or whatever it was, where he said he kind of longs for the show to still be set during the outbreak in the city.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good point, because the further these guys get away from that, and the further it walks like into kind of the Walking Dead territory, where they're just a small group of survivors going around the countryside, it becomes way too similar to the Walking Dead.
Absolutely.
But pales in comparison greatly.
Yeah.
So you end up with a show that is just a carbon copy of the other, but is terrible.
Yeah.
So, they have to do something differently. They tried it with the boat. It was kind of boring and like a little bit claustrophobic, and nothing happening.
And what can really happen on the boat? You can't grow.
Exactly.
The only thing is, people are invading the boat.
Here's another boat coming to take this boat over, and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know like what they're going to do differently, but they have to figure it out, because how they're doing it right now is slowly sort of becoming too similar to The Walking Dead.
I 100% agree on that.
Too similar, but shit.
Yeah.
Do you want to rate it?
3 out of 5.
Yep.
That's it, man.
consistent.
Yeah, exactly. It's consistent.
It's consistently mediocre. And I think 3 is probably almost to the point of being generous.
Yeah, yep.
Again, because, while the show has its little brief moments here and there, for the most part, it's just, not happening.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about this later. This has a very limited amount of episodes in the season.
Yeah.
And it's not doing its storytelling very well.
No, not at all. Because I think, what is that, episode... Well,
8, 9?
8 or 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on its way to being done.
Yes.
Yeah.
It probably only has, 3 or 4 left? Because Walking Dead comes back in
Yeah.
October, so...
I'd say 3.
Yeah.
3 episodes left. Speaking of that, though, it does return next week with Pablo and Jessica, who are some people who they'll probably introduce, and we'll spend a whole episode with them.
Yeah, some more useless people.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Damn, how good is that intro?
Man, that intro, it reminds me of like old school Jaws. It's like, dun dun dun, just gets me going.
Yeah, it does. It's one of those things like we could have cut that at any point, but
Yeah.
why the hell would you?
Yeah, why would you? Man, I have that whole tone as like my message tone.
Do you?
Like the whole thing.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Look,
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm lying.
okay. No, okay, do you, though?
No, I
'cause
don't.
now I don't know.
I do.
Anyway, here we are, talking about Stranger Things, obviously. Finally, after all this time, we get to talk about probably the biggest show of the summer, I would say. And why do I say finally, Kade?
Well, because I had to go through my list.
Yeah, you had to go through your list. And in doing that, you have made me wait for probably an extra 4 weeks longer than I had to wait to talk about this friggin' show.
Well, that's not my problem. You can blame HBO for making Silicon Valley so damn addicting.
All right. But we're not here to talk about them,
No, we're not.
are we? Look, before we get started, because there are plenty of things we're going to talk about this show, we're not going to break down the series, as it were. Like, we're not going to talk, we're not talking episode by episode here or anything like that. We're assuming that you guys have well and truly seen this by now. And if you haven't, there are going to be some mega spoilers.
It just 100% off the bat, spoilers galore.
Spoilers galore. If you haven't, we might even put some timestamps in just in case you haven't watched it yet, or you're not fully up to date and you've got a couple of little episodes to go or anything like that. However, we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to talk about a lot of the storylines and the things that we thought were cool and what to expect from next season and all that sort of stuff. A couple of things I want to talk about that I don't think we're really going to get a chance to cover. So a couple of little things that I just want to quickly throw out there, see what you think. Before we get started.
Okay.
One of them, I've just got to reference the fact that Mike's mum is hot. Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Cool. Excellent.
And not enough screen time.
Not enough screen time. Super hot. Don't even know the name of the actress. But Mike's mum is hot. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, and it's something that we won't talk about really, the character Mike, the
Yes.
kid, the actor who plays him, do you actually know the guy's real name?
No, not at all.
His name is Finn Wolfhard,
That's a cooler name.
which is like the coolest fucking name that you've ever heard in your life, right?
Oh my God.
Finn Wolfhard. If that's not the fucking coolest fantasy character that you've ever heard of, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that's badass.
Could have called
No,
it.
he didn't even audition. They just saw his name and like, call this kid up now.
That's it. His last name is Wolfhard.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to reference those two quick things because I thought that name is too cool not to mention. So, how about the showcade? Since I've spoken about it already in the sense of people know what I feel. How'd you go? What did you think in the end?
What did I think? What did I think of Stranger Things?
Yeah, that's what...
I thought it was bloody amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm spewing. It took me so long to get onto it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Mistake, rookie error here.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great. The Duffin brothers, man, they made some absolutely awesome decisions on their storytelling.
Yeah.
The characters and how, like, the whole show looks overall.
Oh, man. We'll talk about that separately. Because I really do want to reference, like, the cinematography and all that sort of stuff at some point. But let's talk about the story in itself.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I think because one of the biggest things that these guys did, the Duffer Brothers, you did mention it. Yeah, it was the storytelling.
Yeah, well, this is how you tell stories.
Yeah,
and essentially there was a clear 4 story arcs within 8 episodes.
Yeah,
and man, if there's anything any other show can take from this is how you tell a story.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, like if you went to somebody and you said that we have a show and we've got this group of characters and we've got this group of characters and this group of characters and this group of characters and over 8 episodes they're going to all be doing different things, people would probably go, okay, that's going to be a little bit too sort of messy.
Yeah.
But these guys pulled it off friggin' beautifully, man.
Oh, well, it was a long struggle for them to even get the show made because they went to, I think it was 13 networks to try get this done. And all of them wanted them to simplify the story to either the kids or to the chief.
Yep.
They didn't want the mess.
Yeah.
That's how it looked in their eyes.
Well, I know a lot of people turned them down because they didn't think that, when you've got a story that's revolving around 4 kids, essentially.
Yeah.
5 if you include Will.
Yep.
But 4 kids, essentially, that, if it's not directed towards kids, it's going to be a really hard sell. So I think a lot of like networks kind of turn them down based on that because it's so heavily focused on the 4 kids being Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and obviously 11. A lot of networks were kind of like, well, if it's not a kids show, adults aren't going to want to watch the escapades of 4 kids running around doing some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But they did it so smart. They had the they had a couple of other stories. They had Joyce trying to connect with Will.
Yep.
And everyone's thinking that she's bloody lost the plot.
Yep.
There was the classic teens love triangle.
Yeah, between Jonathan, Nancy, and the other kid.
Yeah, I cannot remember his name for the life of me.
Neil.
Good old Neil. And you got Chief Hopper, who's coordinating search parties and battling a bloody drug and alcohol addiction problem.
Yeah, something like that. And he's got his problems, he lost his child and all that sort of stuff. So a bit of a dark sort of tragic past for him as well, which they reference at some point. And I think that's cool because every single one of these stories, you kind of... like you get to know the characters very well in the time that they have.
Yes.
So nobody is really left to the background.
Yeah.
You've got, like as you said, you've got Chief Hopper and everything that he does eventually sort of works in well with, what Joyce is doing. And it works like while all that's happening, the kids are off to the side doing their thing. And then you've got the teenagers off to the side doing their thing. And it just all works really well.
And
man.
that's it. And you're not bored with any of the stories. It's not like, oh, man, we're back with Hopper. I want to go back to the kids. Or, oh, Joyce, fuck, can we go back to the teenage love triangle story? Yes, you enjoy every part.
Yeah. I think the biggest part of that and the reason why that was so successful is because everybody was given their own sort of individual time to shine.
Yes.
Nobody was overshadowing anybody else. Like, I mean, you could say as cool as like the kids and their relationship with 11 was, it was never so good that it was overshadowing everything else that was happening.
Yep.
As much as there are a lot of people out there who are saying that Winona Ryder's character Joyce was annoying, like overly sort of, probably the worst part of the show. I probably tend to disagree a little bit.
Well, we'll get to that because I reckon we break down each of the stories. Like,
okay,
just talk about them, very, very briefly. Say the boys, Joyce, the teens, and Chief Hopper.
Cool, because they're all as crucial. Everybody who comes to the screen just about is pretty much crucial to the story, except for Barb. Oh. No one gives a shit about Barb.
Poor Barb. The internet is alight with Barb.
Yeah, with a bit of a hashtag justice for Barb. And you know, you've got to agree at some point. Let's touch on her story for a sec before we go on to anybody else's. So here's a young girl, not that much older than Will, you would assume, just a few years, and could be his older sister. She goes missing. No one gives a fuck.
Nah. That's the, like, honestly, out of this whole show, that was kind of one story that wasn't explained.
Yeah, because she died.
She died.
She was fucking gone, man.
She's dead.
And I know I know it's not the main focus, but if the focus of your show is to be so centered around the fact that this kid has gone missing and like the whole town is coming together to find him, you've just lost another kid.
Yeah.
Why are you just brushing that under the rug? I don't know, man. It's cool. Like the show's cool as shit. But I'm gonna jump on the hashtag Justice for Barb bandwagon.
Yeah, get that going.
Yeah, because I think she deserves it, man. She deserves better than that. Ending up on the bottom of some dude's pool.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
If anyone from Outcast is listening,
Outcast the band or the show?
Outcast, Andre 3000.
Yeah, if you're listening.
If you're listening. Yeah. No, the TV show. Yeah. This is how you tell a story.
Oh.
In fucking next to no episodes.
Oh, man. Outcast had 10 episodes.
10 episodes.
And they told fucking nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Come on.
Look, and I think part of that is because they... Like with this thing in particular, we'll talk about this a little bit later as well when we talk about what's in store for season 2.
Yeah.
I think they always had this as almost like a standalone season. So it's a season that itself could be left separate to anything else.
Yeah.
I will clarify that statement further on when we talk about what's in store for season 2, if you will be so kind as to remind me.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
Man, I got some things to say about season 2.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, let's talk about the boys' story.
Yeah, man.
Man, I thought it was bloody awesome that essentially this show can run around 4 children.
Yeah. Look, if you are going to pick a story that is probably more more sort of valuable, I guess, is the word I'm looking for, to the overall story as a whole, I think it's this one. And if you did want to pick a story that's kind of like the more exciting of the lot, you'd probably pick this one as well. But again, we're not here to pick battles between the 4 story arcs because they're all pretty great. But yeah, this was cool, man.
Yeah, it was super cool, man. What was great about it is that this show, like, kind of explained the rules of the world to us.
Yeah.
Using bloody Dungeons and Dragons references.
Yeah. Which is cool. Like I don't personally have a lot of experience with Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that. But,
me either.
But that's kind of how it all starts. Like the kids are just playing Dungeons and Dragons in the basement and all that. And then that's how it kind of like culminates. It culminates of with 11 explaining the whole upside down to them using the board, which I thought was just such a cool friggin' way to do it. So simple.
So simple.
But just to turn the board upside down and it's just all black. Oh. And it's like, bam, there's Will in the middle.
And the monster.
The Demogorgon.
Yeah, just using the key piece out of their game. So simple.
Yeah.
So damn effective.
Yeah.
We're not bogged down by fucking stupid science.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's simple to understand.
Yeah.
It's not, you have to do this to travel to the other dimension, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's almost no bloody scientists in this.
Well, yeah, they've got their teacher. That's pretty much about it. And then obviously the guys working at the light and power station or whatever it is. But even when they explain it with the whole analogy of the acrobat and the flea, they simplify it so well that any one of us who doesn't know anything about anything, which is you and I, can sit back and go, fuck yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Man, it's good for basic bitches like us.
It is. And so this whole story is sort of based around their meeting 11 and their interactions with her and all that sort of stuff. And certainly brought about some of the coolest parts of this show for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, let's get to some parts that people don't think is as cool, and that's Joyce's story.
Okay.
And, man, fuck these people who don't like Joyce's story, man. She gets you right in the feels.
Yeah.
And, man, if you can't feel for this woman, there is something wrong with you.
Yeah. I can kind of understand where they're coming from a little bit, because there were parts where, and, great for Winona Ryder to be having like a career resurgence and all that sort of stuff. That's cool. But I think there were some points where she kind of like oversold it. Not so much the story. The story was fine. I think it was just Winona Ryder herself just getting very grating and annoying at times. But that's probably what you would expect of someone who was in that situation.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, it might be annoying, but that's probably the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
This lady, she's from a very lower class, I guess, economy.
Yeah.
She doesn't live fancy. What they do is all pretty basic.
Yeah.
And basically her children are her world.
Yeah.
And for one of them to go missing, man, she has so much love for this kid. It just destroys her.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the way, like, if we're going to talk about this story, then I think the best part of the whole story of Joyce was her interaction with Will, without there actually being Will.
Yeah,
which I thought was done really well.
Man, that's
through the use of lights and all that sort of stuff.
acting.
Hashtag acting. Probably the worst hashtag we've ever come up with.
No, man.
But, it does make a lot of sense. I guess, I think one of the really cool scenes is when she's got all the lights everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, we've all seen the scene, where she's got the lights and she paints the letters on the wall, and that's how they communicate and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's cool.
That's cool.
But I think one of the cooler scenes was where she actually gets that whole bundle of lights and she's just kind of like talking into it and saying like, Will, are you there? All that sort of stuff. And then just out of nowhere, they just light up like bright. And she's just, instantly she knows that she's not crazy. Like, she is having this connection.
Those feels, man. Those feels for a ball of like fairy lights.
Yeah, we've all got fairy lights. But these are, it's done really well. And I think there are moments within this series that, you take and they are really sort of, if you want to say, feels inducing. More than anything that I've watched kind of recently.
Yeah.
And I can say that about a lot of really good TV, man. But this one definitely knew how to hit you.
Yeah, definitely. And, because she is like cradling all these lights, setting up elaborate things.
Yep.
Man, people think she's losing it.
Yeah.
Big time.
Big time.
And it's understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw some lady bloody talking and crying with a bunch of lights, you'd be like, yep.
Yeah. But I think the good thing with her story is that at no point, like, she never gave up hope. So she always knew, like, right from the start that her son wasn't dead. He was there somewhere and, she was going to find him. And I think, like, that relationship, that's cool, man.
That is cool. Let's talk about the teen love triangle.
Yeah, for me, probably the weaker of the four stories. But again,
it started off weak in my opinion. It started off as a fucking cliche.
Yeah.
And I was just, honestly, I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Very much a jock, a nerd, and a weirdo.
Yeah.
All brought together.
Yeah, that's
and,
it.
It's kind of the classic jock, nerd, weirdo love triangle.
Pretty much.
Which we've seen throughout all of history.
Yeah, exactly. You just go to any bloody 80s rom-com bloody movie, and that's it. And I was kind of thinking, like, what was the point of this story arc?
Yeah.
It was one thing that was feeling a little bit out of place because I was like, I don't give a shit about these guys at all. And then bam, they all fucking team up and kill the monster.
Well, yeah. Well, they don't.
They don't kill it.
They don't kill it, but yeah. I think the way this story sort of went from, you didn't actually know where it was going to go. Like it dead set seemed like it was just a love triangle, and that's kind of how it was going to play out. And then all three of these characters, so Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve, not Neil. Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve, like, they all came together and actually became like an integral part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, Nancy is essentially, one of the ones, or is the one that kind of finds her way into the Upside Down, like, all on her own.
Yeah.
She figures the whole fucking thing out, man. And yeah, and she's the one who sets the trap, and, Steve basically comes back out after, like, bailing on fucking everybody, and he comes back and he's like kind of like the hero. it's cool.
Man, that story arc, it wraps up really well because Steve comes off as like this egotistic wanker who wants to punch Jonathan's head in for actually doing some pretty creepy shit of
He
hiding
did do
in
some
the
creepy
bushes.
shit. Like, at the end of the day, you are hiding in some bushes, taking photos of a chick in her bra through somebody else's window.
Super weird, super creepy.
Yeah.
But in the end, they all become friends.
Sort of, yeah.
And Steve actually buys Jonathan a new camera. Doesn't let him know it's from him, though.
Yeah, that's nice.
Man, that's selfless.
Yeah. But what I think is cool about this is, this could have easily gone down the very generic, Steve is the jerk.
Yep.
And so we're just going to brush Steve aside and Steve gets killed by the Demogorgon and Jonathan and Nancy get together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the very sort of cliched way that it would have gone. But in this case, they didn't do that, man. And I thought that was cool. Like, because Steve was, he was a character that obviously had a very good on-screen charisma or presence, not a charisma, but he had a good on-screen presence. And yeah, they obviously saw that and they turned it around and they're basically like, no, you know what? Steve's going to become a good guy in the end.
Yeah.
Which I thought was nice.
And even at that last moment when he came busting into the house before the monster was there, he was still a dickhead.
He was a jerk. And it wasn't until he walked out and he's like, no, you know what? Fuck this, man. That's my girl Nancy in there. I'm going to go back and fight this fucking thing.
Oh.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was cool.
I did like the way that culminated. And I thought like them ending up together was nice, even though there is obviously still a little bit of a hint of a potential relationship between Nancy and Jonathan.
Come on, Nancy. Stay on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. Steve's a good guy. He proved it.
Yeah, he came back and saved you after leaving you.
Yeah. And punching up the guy that's also trying to help you. Anyway.
Yeah.
Chief Hopper.
Chief Hopper, man.
Also had his own story.
Had his own story. His was a complex story, though, man.
Yeah.
He's, like I said, he's a victim of substance abuse.
Yeah. Similar to Bane with his Venom. If we're going to like try to tie a comic book in here somewhere.
Except he doesn't get super jacked off his...
Well, you don't know. He might get super jacked off.
They could be steroids that he's taken.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. His past is a little bit darker than that in the sense that he used to be a big city cop. Unfortunately, his daughter, became very ill and she died. And basically, it was just all downhill from there. And he ended up just going to the country. I'm assuming it's where he was from.
Yeah.
Initially, and ends up being chief of police in this little town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's good because of him, we find out that the government is actually doing a cover-up.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, that would not get explained.
Yeah, exactly. He was probably one of the the more integral to the whole thing. He's also the one that discovers that Will's body is fake.
Yes.
Which is what leads to the whole thing. So obviously could have just gone a generic cliched cop route. Again, they didn't do that, and they made him one of the most important characters in the show, and probably most beloved, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And because his daughter, well, in a flashback, we see that his daughter was dying.
Yeah.
I feel like Will feels like he has to... Oh, no, sorry, not Will. Chief Hopper has to find Will as a way of redeeming his daughter's death.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing he could do about that.
Yeah.
But he can do something about this.
Exactly.
And it's cool because his story actually merges with, not Nancy's, with... Joyce's.
Yeah.
And those two, man, they just come badass motherfuckers together.
They do. They just chuck on the old hazmat suits and just fucking walk into the Upside Down. They're like, all right, I'm getting this kid back.
That's it.
Yeah. I think when like one of the coolest, well, not the coolest scenes, but like one of the nicest things of these two stories, it's the part where Hopper finally realizes that Nancy. Nancy. Why do we keep saying Nancy? Why Joyce wasn't crazy?
Yes.
And he's, he kind of turns to her and he says, you were right the whole time. And just that whole thing where he finally, and Joyce finally gets some justification, and it's kind of like, I was I'm not crazy.
Yeah, even her own son, Jonathan, thought she was crazy. He was out doing funeral preps.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was really cool. This I think the best thing that this show did, and we touched upon it briefly earlier, I think the best thing it did is it created characters that it could have really easily gone down a very cliched route, and they didn't let them go down that route. And every single one of them became integral to what turned out to be a fucking amazing storyline.
That's it. The key point is all these stories tied together.
Yeah.
And everyone was working together for the common good.
Yeah.
No one was. There's no egos.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the adults weren't saying these kids are fucking idiots. The kids weren't thinking these adults have got it wrong. We need to do it our way.
Yeah.
Everyone had a common goal.
Yeah. But not to the point that it was too neat.
Yes.
Which I think is important to mention. Like, it wasn't just so always down the straight and narrow, as it were, where everything just worked out perfectly for everybody. I think overall they've just like the Duffer Brothers have done an amazing job with this story.
Yeah, for sure.
A couple other things that they did really good. Although, like, do you want to talk before we go into that? Because there's a couple other things that we could talk about. Do you want to just talk about the things that were like cool as shit?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. So what did you think was cool as shit? I'm gonna knock this one. Just, you know, like,
you're gonna spitball it.
No, not spitball it, but I'm gonna get this one out of the road because this is the most obvious one.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about 11 and how cool the whole fucking thing, you know, was with her powers, the acting from that kid.
Yeah, man,
these acting from all the kids, man.
Man, these kids are too good.
Yeah,
they're too good for their age.
Yeah. They all benefited from some really great writing and some great storytelling and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, we're talking about kids that are, you know, like 12, 13, 14, all, you know, kind of going through puberty and all that sort of stuff.
All being little rebellious pricks.
Yeah, but they killed it, man.
Yeah.
They absolutely killed it. 11 has gone from like what could have just been like a teenage girl, well, not even a teenage girl, maybe, but like to one of the coolest characters that you've seen on TV in some time.
Yeah, man, and she barely says anything.
She barely says a fucking thing.
Man, that's good storytelling.
It is. Did you know? I can't remember her actual real name. I think it's Haley Bobby Brown, something like that.
Okay.
She's British.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe she couldn't do an accent, so that's why they didn't have her talk.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Apparently, she learned her accent from just watching TV in the UK. So she'd watch American TV, and that's how she picked it up. And
I bet she watched Friends a lot.
Probably.
Just so many reruns.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's really cool. I think the way that, like, they didn't overuse or oversell her power.
Yeah.
Which I think was good. Like, they didn't go crazy with it. They didn't like keep trying to like throw it in your face like, oh, hey, remember there's cool stuff going on.
Yeah, that's right. It was used very sparingly and in the right moments.
Yeah, it was. And I think like that sort of made like some of the scenes where she actually does use her powers and where she uses them for kind of like a bigger problem than slamming a door or something like that.
Yeah.
Came off like awesome, man.
Yeah,
awesome
absolutely fantastic. One thing that I liked about this show is that I guess does it go down to shitty writing? Like, there's no shitty writing. That there was no stupid people.
Yeah,
as in no one tripped over shit. There was no silly decisions made. Everyone was clear thinking.
I see where you're going. Yeah, so there's none of this horror story running through the woods and tripping on a friggin' branch. And,
Exactly. That forced drama.
Yeah, although I'm pretty sure Nancy fell down a hill at one point.
Man, people bitches be tripping.
People do fall down hills all the time.
All the time.
But yeah, I see exactly where you're going. Like, every character was strong in their own right.
Yeah.
So even though these three kids, so if you're talking about like the three boys,
yep.
Like nerds as they were and all that sort of stuff, but still very, very strong characters.
Yeah. Because
they fucking came together and they kicked a lot of ass, man.
Oh man, that takes me to my next point. Everyone has 10-pound balls.
Everyone,
man.
Yep.
There's no fear.
Yeah.
These guys aren't scared about what they need to do.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. Case in point was Bloody Steve coming back into the house.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But is that just a case, like, when it comes to the kids, is that just a case of they're just kids, man, and they don't know any better?
It could be that they're
because you remember when you were like young, like everything was like you're bulletproof. You could do anything, man. But now you're kind of like, ooh, fuck that.
If I do that, I might not be able to go to work tomorrow.
I am not riding that bike down that hill. That
Yeah.
is not happening. Yeah, so yeah, it could just be that. It's just some kid bravado.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're right, Joyce, man, as well. She had 10-pound balls.
Yep.
Chief Hopper had probably 20-pound balls.
Yeah, just all just going into that upside down like there's no tomorrow, ripping off their masks to save Will.
Yeah.
Just crazy, man.
Yeah. We could probably talk about the stuff that was cool forever. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to like make a little bit of reference to, I spoke about it earlier, is the cinematography of this.
Oh, so good.
Maybe not so much the cinematography, just the entire way that the whole thing was brought together. And I'm talking about things like the whole 80s vibe, I think, was fucking on point for this particular thing.
Yeah, definitely. The way it was shot, the music was amazing in this.
Yeah, well, you heard it in the intro. And there is a whole soundtrack dedicated just to the instrumental side of it.
Really?
Plus, obviously, they have the other part, which is normal music, whatever that's called.
The upside down part?
Yeah, the upside down part of that album is actual just genuine music.
Genuine?
What is that called? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. What I am saying though is that because of that, you do have to give a massive shout out to, I think it's Michael Stein and Carl Dixon, who provided the instrumental kind of electronic soundtrack, which I think is like, it came across friggin' perfectly. And it all works into how it was shot.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was shot, and I did a little bit of digging. So apparently the whole thing was shot with a high def Red Dragon camera.
Oh, damn!
Damn, son! If you don't know what a Red Dragon is, can you also let me know? Apparently it's a super cool camera. I don't know. You know cameras more than me.
Pretty top notch.
It is. Top of the range. Anyway, high def, whatever. But then they...
1080p.
1080p. It's got stuff. It's got, things.
It's got Dolby Digitals.
It's got 2 USB ports.
Damn.
I think. Anyway, my point is, what they did is they shot it in full high definition, and then they applied a real film grain over the top to give it that 80s kind of feel.
You can see it too, man. It's got that matted look to it.
Yeah, exactly that. And that happens in the intro titles and all that sort of stuff as well. You've got some homages to classic cinema, which I want to do as a whole separate point because there's fucking so much that you can talk about it.
So many references.
Yeah, there's we spoke about the storyline and we spoke about I guess how it was all brought together really well. There's a couple of, we spoke about some feels, scenes and all that sort of stuff. There's a couple that I wanted to point out that I think were shot friggin' brilliantly, man. There's 2 of them.
Okay.
If I can,
hit me with them.
Yeah, I'll hit you with them. Try not to cry.
Let me grab my tissues.
Grab your tissues. But there's a part. So there's a scene at the end of episode 3 where they find Will's body in the quarry.
Yep.
So when the boys, and 11 sort of, ride up on their bikes and they're dragging the body out of the quarry and all that sort of stuff. And Mike freaks out and he's like, they're all bawling and the kids sell the friggin' scene like crazy. So Mike runs off and he's just like, pissed as hell at like 11 and all that sort of stuff because she said, Mike's alive or whatever she said. And all while this is happening, this is the point. This is the point in the show where Joyce is at home and she's set up the lights on the wall with the writing and she's like asking Will like what I should do, and Will's like, run. It spells out run, and then the Demogorgon starts coming out of the wall. The whole thing was fucking brilliant, man. But so Mike takes off home on his bike. Joyce takes off down the road.
Oh, and how they just run into each other's arms.
Yeah, well, not into each other's arms, but what essentially happens is Mike runs home and he kind of runs straight into his mother's arms. And Joyce is running down the road and she meets Jonathan and she like runs straight into his arms. And what you're left with is like 2 opposing yet very similar scenes of like a mother comforting her son and a son comforting her mother.
Yeah.
And they kind of flip between the 2 to show you the contrasting sort of differences between it. I thought it was touching.
It's brilliant.
I thought it was brilliantly done. Another scene that I really wanted to point out was the 11's final battle with the Demogorgon, which didn't really turn out to be much of a battle in the end because she was far too powerful for it. But the way it was shot, combined with the music and the acting, man, from those kids again. 11 at one point turns around to Mike and she's kind of like, she says goodbye. She basically just turned around and says goodbye, Mike.
Yeah.
And then she turns back to the Demogorgon and she's like, no more. And then she kills it. I was a mess.
Oh, tears going everywhere.
All over the place. But then, when she destroys the monster and, in turn destroys herself and the thing sort of, dissipates into ashes and it kind of like engulfs her and then they both disappear. Fuck, man.
Man, I'm not crying. You're crying.
I just thought like there are a couple of scenes that you could point out from there that are really cool. Another really cool one is where she saves Mike from when those two bastard
yeah, when he
kids-
jumps off the cliff and just...
Yep.
Oh,
That was cool,
fantastic.
man.
Man, what is the fuck is that kid thinking anyway?
Wow.
It's like-
Well, he's like, well, you know, what are you going to do? You got to jump, man.
I don't think so, man. That's peer pressure. You don't have to give in to that.
Those dudes had a knife to Dustin's throat.
Man, they
they
ain't
were
gonna-
taking it next level.
They ain't going to do shit.
You want to talk about asshole characters? There you go.
Yeah, those kids, man.
Fuck those kids.
That kid's arm deserved to be broken.
It did. And then
Should have
he's
been ripped off.
whinging to his parents later and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, now
Movie
homages
references?
to movie references.
Yeah.
What did you pick up?
E.T. This had like E.T. dust sprinkled all over it.
All over it.
Man, like the scene where the kids are like riding down the street on the bikes.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was imagining like her like making them fly.
Yeah.
Except like she makes the van go over them, which is
Which
probably
was fucking
cooler.
cool, man.
Yeah, but I was like, oh come on, just fly.
Yeah. The heaps and heaps of references. Like the three kids' relationship with 11 throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's so much like E.T., man. The Goonies as well.
Oh yeah,
Those kids are the fucking Goonies, man.
all over it.
Like definitely 100% inspired from that. One thing that I really wanted to point out is Nightmare on Elm Street obviously referenced quite heavily.
Actually, there was quite a few like horror movies brought into this.
Yeah, exactly. Whether and that's, you know, whether you want to talk about movie posters that were on the wall or, you know, anything like this. But if you want to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street, man, Nightmare on Elm Street it's a movie where Freddy Krueger lives in your dreams.
Yeah.
And essentially the way the main girl decides to or figures out how to kill him is to bring him into her world.
Yes.
Her name is fucking Nancy in the movie as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So this girl called Nancy brings Freddy Krueger into the real world and sets him on fire. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, that seems a little bit familiar.
Yeah, so obviously very much paying tribute to A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, homage to some poltergeist action.
Definitely.
With Joyce talking to Will through the walls.
Through the lights
Through
and
the
all that sort of
lights, through
stuff.
everything, man.
Yep, definitely a reference there. Firestarter as well.
Yes.
Yep. So big reference to Firestarter in the sense of Dr. Brenner when he's experimenting with Eleven's powers, and very much the relationship that they have is similar to the relationship that Drew Barrymore's character in Firestarter had with her doctor. You know, you could go on for forever about them, but you know, there's like Evil Dead, Aliens, The Thing, Stand By Me is a big one as well.
Yeah.
Star Wars,
Karate Kid.
Karate Kid.
Man, the guy, the young kid who gets the headband around him. Man,
Yeah.
I was like, that's Karate Kid
That's
all
Karate
over.
Kid all over. And yeah, like Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Heaps.
So
I fucking
many.
loved it.
It was fantastic, man.
Because like
And Jaws. Don't forget Jaws, how the blood lures the creature
Yeah.
out. The music, man.
yeah.
The music was inspired by Jaws.
Was it?
Yes.
Is that a fact?
It's a fact.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about this, though, is there are a lot of shows out there that could do something similar.
Yep.
In the sense of they can reference all these different things, but it's kind of like there is a big difference to paying your respects to said things and just copying what those things
Yeah, that's
did.
right.
And that's what I think Stranger Things did so well in the sense of like paying their respects to some absolutely fucking classic cinema.
Yeah, correct. Troy,
Yeah.
where do we go for season 2?
Where do we go for season 2? There are a couple of things that have already been announced that are definites.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about those?
Tell me.
Spoilers for season 2, you guys, potentially. The Duffer Brothers will most definitely be back.
I don't think that's a spoiler. That's a given, mate.
Yeah, which I think is good. You don't want to hand over the reins to anybody else.
No way.
It'll be set a year later.
A year later.
Yeah, so it'll be set in 1984.
Right.
So we're still sticking with the 80s. It's going to follow the same characters. It's going to introduce some new ones as well. As far as I know, most of them, like from this season, will be back.
Yep.
I think one of the ones that they're not 100% sure on is 11.
Really? I heard she was cast. Like, they're bringing her back, but to what extent?
Yeah, you just don't know what capacity. So whether that character will be a main player in the next sort of the next season, we don't know.
Yep.
I think the coolest thing that they've kind of said is that it's not going to be like a second season. It's going to be like a sequel.
Yes, a sequel. So
Yeah.
what do you want to see from the sequel?
Yeah. So for me, I think we need to like. Well, man, I don't know.
I'll put you on the spot.
No. It's just because there's so many different ways to go. Because I think we're kind of, I don't think we're done with this upside down story, but I think it kind of needs to be something different. Like, do you know what I mean? Like maybe like because of the events of this, there's been quiet for a year, and then there are some more supernatural disturbances that start popping up because of the events of a year ago.
Yeah, so it's like a ripple effect.
Yeah, kind of thing. So rather than being exactly the same thing where we're just like going back and referencing, the upside down.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, when you look at how they did that, there was only one of the Demogorgons as they were, but there was only one of them. So, are there more of them? Are there different
types?
Different types? Are there different sort of like species or races or whatever you want to call them?
Yeah.
Plenty of other things that they could draw from. I think it'd be cool if they did something different. It'll be interesting to see like how the kids develop as well, and where they go and what their journey is now that they're all back together as a group of 4.
Yeah.
Unless they do a very, it's kind of like The Hangover. So The Hangover where there's the 4 of them and then, they lose one and the 3 of them are the main ones and they go back. And then in season 2, it's kind of like, the 4 of them are back together and then Will, fucking get stuck somewhere and they, it's just the 3 kids again.
Yeah. Well, how I see season 2, series 2.
Yeah, Stranger Things 2.
Stranger Things 2
is what I think they're going to call it.
We saw at the end of it, the massive spoiler here, that Will possibly has powers like 11.
Yeah.
Not the same, similar.
Yeah.
So it appears that he can almost twist reality into the upside down.
Yeah.
So, man, where they go with that, maybe he can just travel in between so many different dimensions now.
That would be cool. And maybe that's kind of what happens. It's kind of like the kids kind of get into like a series of misadventures through
different dimensions.
Yeah. Or like very Rick and Morty-ish.
Yeah, well, possibly.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that this thing has to worry about is the expectations that are going to have on the second season or Stranger Things 2 or whatever you want to call it. Because, I'm yet to hear anybody sort of turn around and go, you know what? I fucking hated that show, man. I was not a fan of Stranger Things.
Yeah, correct.
Like it's rated like 9 point something on IMDb. Like it's got a massive like it's gotten. I don't know what its Rotten Tomato score is, but it doesn't really matter. It's gotten great critical reception, fans and critics alike. So I think that puts the pressure on them a little bit to come back with something as
bigger
good
and
as
better.
the first, if not better.
Yeah.
Because. Like to come out of the blocks like that fucking strong, man.
Yeah.
What other season has hit you with a first season like that you've kind of just gone fuck?
Oh, well, nothing, man. And that's going to lead to my next question. It's like, what do you rate this show?
How are we rating? Are we doing the 100?
Yeah, rate the season out of 100.
Yeah. Fucking right up there.
Yeah.
90.
Yeah.
2.
95 here.
Yeah.
And the biggest question, is this the best show you have ever seen?
No.
No?
Because it's only had 8 episodes. So if you were talking about, is it the best limited series I've seen? So if you're talking about the first season of something, maybe.
Yeah.
It'd go very fucking close. And I think you can tell that in the way that we've spoken about it. Like we haven't really had, because when we talk about movies and we talk about TV shows, we pretty much always go through and we do our pros and our cons and all that sort of stuff. But there are no real cons to pull from this. In
our opinion.
Yeah, in our opinion, that are glaring. There are some things that that happen that you could probably live without, and they probably didn't do as good as they could. But those things are so easily swept under the rug by the brilliance of everything else.
Yeah,
you don't even bother with it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people weren't happy with the look of the Demogorgon.
Man, what's wrong with it?
I don't know.
What do these people expect?
I don't know.
And that's the question they need to ask themselves.
Take a long, hard look in the mirror.
Well, what is wrong with it? What would they have done with it?
Yeah, but it's opinion.
Yeah.
It's opinion, and that's what opinion is.
That's right.
Their opinion is that they weren't happy with the look of it. I think the way its kind of face opens up is very reminiscent of The Thing.
Predator.
Predator, but definitely I think it more references John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yep.
Because it's very almost like to the exact, not the way it folds back in on itself, but the way it opens up, like a flower. Yeah. But yes, it could have looked a bit different, but who knows, man? I mean, is that bad a thing? I don't know. There are people that hated Joyce. Like, yeah.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah. Hashtag justice for Barb.
Justice for Barb. So 92 for you, 95 for me. I'm gonna say this is the show of the year
so far.
Yeah.
And there's been some good shows, man. There's been some good TV.
Yeah.
How would you rate it though? Like, if you're gonna look at in the grand scheme of things, because Breaking Bad, as an example, one of the shows that's been rated as possibly one of the best of the new era of TV. How do you rate it alongside that sort of thing?
You can't yet. It's Breaking Bad built up over 8 seasons?
5.
Yeah, and that's brilliant.
Yeah,
it was friggin' fantastic.
Yeah, was it 6?
It might actually, it was 6.
Yeah, 6.
You can't compare it.
And that means it's time for Comic of the Week, an all-new segment where we review, recommend, and rate a brand new comic release from the previous couple of weeks.
Comic of the Week is brought to you by Kasplat Comics and Collectibles. For all your comic and pop culture needs, visit kasplatcomics.com.au, or you can check them out on Facebook and Twitter. We'll leave those links in the show notes.
Yes, we will. And excitingly enough, every review that we do will also be available on the website in a kind of like a Word format.
Yes. So instead of like listening to it with your ear holes, you can read it with your eyeballs.
Yeah, exactly. So if you forget anything that we say, or you want to and you don't want to press rewind, whatever it is that you do. Anyway, my point is it's going to be on the website. So check it out.
And maybe we might leave some links.
Maybe.
We'll see. That's more work, man.
We'll figure it out as we go. That's what we do best. It's time for
Comic of the Week.
Comic of the Week.
Is that what you were expecting?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Never before been practiced.
That was just like
I just kind of pointed at Kade and he knew what to do. It's good. A Blue Beetle Rebirth, #1 from DC Comics, written by Keith Giffen and Scott Collins, with art by Collins, Romulo Fajardo Jr. and Josh Reed. Blue Beetle sees the return of both current and former Beetle Jamie Reyes and Ted Kord, and takes us to the streets of El Paso, where Jamie is confronted by some new enemies on the block, the metahumans Rack and Ruin. Jamie may be in the suit, but Ted is firmly behind the wheel, literally, playing mentor to the new Blue Beetle who is still struggling to understand his abilities. The action comes quick, the dynamic between Jamie and Ted plays off brilliantly on page, and the story by Giffen and Collins looks set to be a hit, even if it does leave us with some questions. Who are Rack and Ruin? Why are they calling out the Beetle? And what does the dire warning issued by Dr. Fate mean for our new dynamic duo? Now, it may not be the best comic for those unfamiliar with the Beetle, but it is a great pickup for fans of both the Jamie Reyes and, of course, the Ted Kord incarnations of the title character. I'll give it 4 Blue Beetle Scarabs out of 5.
It's not bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's very good. Blue Beetle Rebirth is available from your local comic book shop. If you don't have one, it's available on sites like Comixology. Just pay some money. Pay some damn money for the comics.
It's only a couple of bucks.
Exactly. That's it.
That is it. That's another bloody episode.
Done and dusted. Stay tuned next week as we talk
something that we can't talk about.
We can't talk about just yet. It's either going to happen this week or it's going to happen in a future episode somewhere.
Yeah.
So if we can get things sorted, it's very mysterious.
Yeah.
If we can get things sorted this week, that's what we'll talk about. If we can't, we'll have something else planned.
And being organised is our thing.
It is our thing. We totally don't just make this shit up as we go along. I swear to God. You know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time to thank some people.
Yes.
Isn't it? Thank you to all of our listeners, our subscribers, and, of course, our reviewers on YouTube for, just sticking with us and loving us.
Yeah, we've actually been getting...
we love you.
We do love you because you have been giving us heaps of reviews lately.
Yeah.
All around the world, too.
Which is great.
It's fantastic.
Yep. You can go from 1 to 5 stars.
1 being the best,
Yeah.
5 being the worst.
I think that's it. I think
That's how it works, right?
Yeah. I think it's the other way, just in case. It is 5 stars is the best.
Don't forget, you can also check us out on Facebook. Just search Comic Confidential. We've got Instagram, Twitter. That's at Comic Con Pod. YouTube, you know the thing.
drill.
You know it.
Search it, subscribe it.
Get on the squad.
Yeah, live it.
We've also got a Snapchat.
We do.
Amy and I run that one.
Yep.
Troy doesn't want to get on there because he's a bitch.
It's not that I'm a bitch. It's just, like... I run a very busy Twitter account.
That's true.
It's the only thing I do.
I run the very mediocre Facebook page.
You can join us on any one of those. Snapchat, how do you get in touch?
That's Comic Con Pod as well.
Yeah.
Man, we've got the monopoly on that.
We do. We have a website, which is comicconpod.com.
Funny enough. Also got a Patreon. If you want to get yourself some merchandise from the show, jump on the patreon.com/comicconpod. We've actually put a new perk on there.
Yes. Oh, yes, we have.
Yes, we have. And it's extremely affordable.
Isn't it?
It's $1.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you're going to get access to our upcoming movie commentaries.
Oh, by the way, we have upcoming movie commentaries.
There you go.
So, yeah, that's cool. So sign up, $1, bam. Access to us talking about some fucking random movie.
Yeah, actually, we should do a poll. For
Which
what
movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Kade. Yeah, thanks, mate.
You nailed it, champ.
Nailed it. And we've also got the Loot Crate. If you want to jump on that, I think you get a discount.
Yep.
That's in the show notes.
Cool. And we have a network. We are a network.
We are a network.
We don't have one. We are the Comic Confidential Network, encompassing such amazing shows as Comic Confidential, which is this one that you're listening to now, and the Advisory Podcast, which is a funny as shit advice-related podcast hosted by two a brilliant young gentlemen by the name of James and Todd, and they are funny as fuck. Did I say that?
I think you did. I think you said funny as shit.
Yeah, whatever.
What's funnier, shit or fuck?
I don't know. They're both pretty funny.
Yeah.
That is it.
That's the show.
That's the show. Thanks for listening. As always, I'm Troy.
I'm Kade.
And this has been Comic Confidential.
Cheers.
Peace. I got my piece back.
Yeah, you got your piece back.
Fuck yeah.
It's Amy, man. She steals that shit.
I know. Sicko.